Hello, this is the Silver Watchman, and welcome to another episode of the OddWorld series. In the previous episode, we finished Abe's Odyssey and made it to chapter 60 of Isaiah. Now, we're going to start with chapter 61 and begin a brand new game, Munches Odyssey. But before we get into anything, let's kick this off with some prayer. Dear Lord, may you guide this message today. May you grant me an understanding of all things of heaven, hell, and earth, of every man, demon, and angel. Help me to guide people on your word here today. And may you save the souls that need to be saved. May you speak through me and let your will be heard. Thank you for doing so. May you also help this channel to grow. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. So, as I was saying before, in the previous episode, we finished Abe's Odyssey. And honestly, I like it. It was really nice, really well done, and ported over beautifully. I have very little complaints about it, and I hope this game will be just as nice. And honestly, from playing it, it is about as smooth, which is pretty nice, because when it comes to ports, it's very easy for them to get very janky. For example, let's take a look at anything made by Sonic. By the Sonic team, Sega. Their ports have a tendency to be incredibly janky, and I remember when I was playing the Vector Man series, I will admit it had a bit of a jank to it, but still a fun game, and just as fun as I remembered it when I was a kid. So, honestly, every other game that they make, other than Sonic, turns out to be pretty good. It's just, there's something about Sonic, and I don't know what it is. But yep, this is Munches Odyssey. And there's a reason why I keep on calling it Munches Odyssey, Abe's Odyssey, because that is what they were called when it was at the PS1, PS2, and even with the original Xbox that I had as a kid. And yes, there are backstories that I can be going through. And I will be going through them throughout different God, I'm just a little out of it. I'm going to be going through those in future episodes, not in this one. So we have an understanding of what is actually going on. And yes, I could do it in this episode. But, no. Okay, so I shall begin with Isaiah chapter 61. King James Version of the Bible. Isaiah chapter 61. The Spirit of God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. And that they shall build the old wastes. They shall raise up the former desolations. They shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. And the strangers shall stand and feed your flocks. And the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. Ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double, everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offering among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them. They that are the seed which the Lord hath blessed, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with a robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Isaiah chapter 62. For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake will I not rest. I will not rest until righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and the kings and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy hand any more be termed desolate, but thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah. For the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so all thy sons marry thee. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace, day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence, and give him no rest, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. The Lord hath sworn by his right hand, and by the arm of his strength, surely I will no more give thy corn to be meat for thine enemies. And the sons of the stranger shall not drink thy wine, for which thou hast labored. But they that have gathered it shall eat it, and praise the Lord. And they that have brought it together shall drink it in the courts of my holiness. Go through the gates. Prepare ye the way of the people. Cast up the highway. Gather out of the stones. Lift up a standard for the people. Behold, the Lord hath proclaimed unto the end of the world. Say ye to the daughter of Zion, Behold, thy salvation cometh. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. And they shall call them the holy people, the redeemed of the Lord. And thou shalt be called, sought out, a city not forsaken. Isaiah chapter 63. Who is that cometh from Edom, with dyed garments from Basra? that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, that I have speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore thou art red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in mine anger, and make them drunk in my fury. And I will bring down their strength to the earth. I will mention the loving kindness of the Lord, and the praises of the Lord, according to all that the Lord hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them, according to his mercies, according to the multitude of his loving kindness. For he said, Surely there are my people, children that will not lie, so that he was their Savior. In all their affliction he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity he redeemed them, and he bare them and carried them all the days of old. But they rebelled and vexed his Holy Spirit. Therefore he was turned to be their enemy, and he fought against them. Then he remembered the days of Moses, the days of old, Moses, and his people, saying, Where is he that brought them up out of the sea with the shepherd of his flock? Where is he that put his Holy Spirit within him, that led him by the right hand of Moses with his glorious arm, dividing the water before them, to make himself an everlasting name, that led them through the deep as an horse in the wilderness, that they will not stumble? As a beast goeth down into the valley, the Spirit of the Lord caused him to rest. So didst thou lead thy people to make thyself a glorious name. Look down from heaven, and behold from the habitation of thy holiness and of thy glory. Where is thy zeal and thy strength? The sounding of thy bowels and of thy mercies toward me, are they restrained? Doubtless thou art our father, though Abraham be ignorant of us, and Israel acknowledge us not. Thou, O Lord, art our Father, our Redeemer. Thy name is from everlasting, O Lord. Why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, and harden our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance. The people of thy holiness have possessed it. But a while our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. We are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name. Alright. A lot of stuff going on in these chapters, and I do apologize that I'm kind of reading a bit off. Not gonna lie, still kind of recovering from a bit of food poisoning, so needless to say, just a little messed up. So I'm still kind of recovering from dehydration as a result of that. So I shall return. I'm going to refill my cup, And when I come back, we're going to break this down. And I'm back. So, let's kick this off with Isaiah chapter 61. Let's see. There's 3 verses I actually want to look at. Verse 1, verse 11, and verse 8. So let's take a look at verse 1 here. The Spirit of God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Now, let's take a closer look at that and see what does that actually mean. So, what is the Spirit of God? Well, it is part of the Holy Trinity of God. See, there's the Father portion of God, which is the portion that has all the Sorry, I had a small moment where I realized that my mic was running out of power very quickly, and I forgot to turn on the portable power cell that I have for it. Mostly because not a lot of outlets here, and yeah, portable power cells. I prefer to use those. Alright, so let's take a look here. Preach good tidings unto the meek. Now, what are the meek? What does meek mean? Well, meek are typically people that are very strong, but hold back their strength. It's much different than being weak, where you just don't have the strength itself. No, meek people tend to be very strong people that are... Let's go into the handy-dandy PDA so I could make sure I'm 100% on this. Oh, right, I was looking up a DOC for a different game. Let's see. Meek. Quiet, gentle, and easily imposed on, submissive. More definitions. Meok, Middle English, also in the sense of courteous or indulgent. Okay. Enduring injury with patience and without resentment. Meek child dominated by his brothers. Deficient in spirit and courage. Meek in the Bible. Let's go with that. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I had it wrong. I will admit it. I was wrong in my definition of it. So basically, meek are people that are very gentle people that, don't really have a lot of backbone to them. Okay. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, because basically everybody walks all over them. That verse makes so much more sense now. Well, it's a good thing I looked it up now, isn't it? Alright, now let's take a look at verse... Oh, jeez, I lost it. Hold on. Here it is, verse 8. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Now, let me grab a small drink before I continue. Yes, water is always tasty. So, here's where we're at. Let's see. This is just a general statement from God. You see, God does like to have offerings given unto him, but he doesn't want to be stolen. And that can also be brought on to when it comes to tithes and offerings, which is actually what this might have to do with. Because, if you're accepting money from people but you are bankrupting them, that's stealing. Let's see. If you're demanding that they pay so that way they could be taught by you, that's stealing. And God hates that. Me personally, I hate that as well. Let's see. But then he says, he loves judgment. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean he loves it when people are judging people? No. Let's take a look at the definition of judgment as well. Because, let's see, judgment, the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. I can't talk. So, an opinion or conclusion, a decision of a court judge, misfortune or calamity viewed as divine punishment. Now, number 2 could fit, but it doesn't really fit too well here. A decision of a court judge, yes, it can fit, but once again, doesn't fit perfectly. An opinion or conclusion, like I said, can fit, but it won't be a perfect fit. I have a feeling the first one right here, the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible judgment, sensible conclusions, is more what it means here. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I love when people make sensible decisions. I love when people think about what they have to do. I love when people weigh in the pros and cons of their actions, is a more modern way of putting it. And it makes sense. See, God is the God of love, the God of judgment, the God of honesty, peace, the God of hope. He's very careful in what he does and doesn't do anything half-heartedly or without planning it out at least many, many years beforehand. And we can say that he can because he's ageless, timeless, outside of the existence of time itself. A single day for us is 1,000 for him, and 1,000 for him is 1 for us. Or 1,000 to us is 1 for him as well. So I meant to I can't human right now. So let's continue. Verse 11. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as a garden causes the things that are sown into it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Honestly, it's self-explanatory of what God will do at the end of everything, and that there's no real explanation needed for it other than it's straightforward. Now let's go to chapter 62. Let's see, because there is something that I saw in here, only one verse that I saw that really Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yes, right here. Verse 4. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate. But thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah. For the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. Now, what is Hephzibah? Well, I actually have a small note here from the translators, which is Hephzibah. That is, my delight is in her. So, thou shalt be called Hepzibah, or I delight in her. And then, and thy land, Belua. Belua meaning married. So, Belua, for the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. And it even explains itself afterwards. For the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. But married to who? Who is going to marry an entire land? The only one that has the capacity to marry land. You see, you could say another country could be joined with it, but another country won't have the status for that. You have to go one up. What's higher than a country? A king. What's higher than a king? The King of Kings. What's higher than that? Well, actually, the King of Kings is God, so you can't really get any higher than God other than, God being God. So anyway, but I like this phrase, this verse right here. It's very self-explanatory. No longer will the Gentiles be called forsaken, and their land would no longer be considered desolate. So, the Gentiles, who are the Gentiles? Well, they're the Jews, the Hebrews that are just Jewish. But the Gentiles are literally everybody else. So this is God outright in saying, you're no longer going to be known as the forsaken ones. I'm coming for you too. And I'm going to have a delight in you. And your land shall be married unto me. But what does marriage mean here? So let's look up marriage. Because, I'm looking up matrix. That is for a sciencey thing. Marriage is a process by which two people make their relationship public, official, and permanent. The joining of two people in a bond that putatively lasts until death, but the practice often cuts. Whatever. That one. Matrimony or wedlock is a culturally recognized union between people called spouses, but it is a union. Oh, there's a lot of things about divorce on this. Oh my gosh. I know it's a... Good gosh, it's just... Sorry, I'm just... Wow. Okay, we're going past this subject, because honestly, that is a whole book of worms that I was not mentally prepared to open. So, let's go to chapter 63 to get past that. But in short, marriage is a union between two peoples, or between two powers. The power of God and the bride of God, or the church. The power of the church, in a way. To put it simply, from my current level of understanding, my understanding may grow deeper, it may change over the years, but for now, that is what I'm viewing it as. I'm going to take another sip. All right, so in looking at chapter 63, there's a lot of things here. But since I'm running short on time, I'm going to focus on the main thing. which is verse 5. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. But in the previous one it says, like, the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Now, adding those two together, what is that actually saying? What narrative are we hearing from God right now? And I think, or I believe, it's probably saying something along the lines of, now is the time for me to redeem my people. Now is the time for me to take back what is mine. That was, in a way, taken from me. That has walked away. Or that was taken away via corruption or other means. And I looked, and there was none to help, meaning there was nobody left. There was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I would tread down the people in mine anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. I will mention the loving kindness of the Lord, and the praise of the Lord, according to all that the Lord hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them according to his mercies, and according to the multitude of his loving kindness. So basically, they're in a high place, but it's a high place most likely of haughtiness, of sin. So them being brought down, bringing them down a peg or two to bring down their arrogance, so that way they'll actually be willing to listen about how kind God is and how much God loves them. But that's all the time I have for now, and that's all I can break down for now. Now let me read the verse before we get into prayer. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, and today, and forever. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, King James Version of the Bible. If you like this video, hey, leave a comment and tell me, what are your thoughts on these verses, on these chapters. I want to hear your personal opinions, and if I like it, I may feature it. I may not. I don't know. Editing does still take me 3 to 4 hours at a time, and that's just to make it as nice and smooth as possible. I am getting better at it though, but I'm always adding more things, which adds more time. Nevertheless though, join me in some prayer if you want to give your life over to Jesus. If not, skip over about a minute or so, and I should be getting into the nitty-gritty of the deal that I do want to offer you guys, if you don't want to take this one. So, repeat after me. Dear Lord, I believe that you, Jesus, that you are the Christ, that you are the Son of the living God, but more than that you are God himself, that you are God made flesh, that you're the Savior. So I ask that you wash away my sin with your heavenly blood. May you fill me with life and with your Holy Spirit. Save my soul from damnation, and I thank you for doing so. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Who is a God like unto thee, that pardoneth iniquity, that passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. That is in Micah chapter 7, verse 18, King James Version of the Bible. And I like that verse. I personally like it very much, because it's one of the few verses that actually summarizes a big portion of God's personality. Yeah, he gets angry, but he doesn't like to be angry. He would much rather just extend to you a hand of mercy to pick you up rather than to beat you down, like how I've seen other gods do. I've never agreed with that. But the ability of showing mercy is something I could always get behind. Maybe it's because God showed me mercy at my darkest hour. And speaking of mercy, if you made that prayer in faith, welcome to the family. You just gave your life over to Christ. Find somebody who's anointed in the baptism of water so you can be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. And what that means is that you're announcing for man, God, demon, and angel that the Lord Jesus Christ is your Savior and your friend, and that you stand by him to the very end. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but it just kind of happened. So, that's good water. So, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, subscribe. And I would especially prefer if you commented and subscribed so you can keep on coming back and giving me more of your insight. Because believe it or not, I do read the comments. I just can't monitor everything. And if you don't want to do that, then at the very least visit the merch shop and buy some merch if you can afford it. If you can't, that's understandable. I still made the prices as low as I possibly could. But if you don't want to do that, can you do something else to represent me and what I represent and what God represents? Go out there, take care of the least of your societies. And that means helping out the homeless, protecting the weak. And, the weak, protect the orphaned. Comfort the widowed. Remember your soldiers. They fought really hard to have your country be where it is today. And I'm certain not every country has that kind of dynamic. But keep in mind, they're human beings too. And they were just following orders. They don't really need your hatred. Because at the end of the day, I understand what that's like. If you're just following orders, yeah, you have a conscious ability to deny those orders, but at the same time, orders are orders. So just try to remember that the next time you encounter a soldier or somebody that has been maimed by the nightmare that is combat. And remember, they're human too. But, keep in mind, nobody's perfect. And like I said, take care of the least of your societies. Now, I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. If anything, I'm asking you to do something that I'm doing myself, but I just don't have the funds, I don't have the scale, and I don't have the authority to help out as much as I would like. But I'm doing my best. I only ask that you guys help out some too. And hey, it's an honor that I get to do this for you guys. And if you want to tell other people about this channel, please do. I want this channel to grow. I want to have a society where everyone's helping out everybody else. Like the kind of thing that my grandparents used to tell me about when I was a kid. But the world isn't such a nice place anymore. Either way, though, thank you all for watching. Glory be to God. And this is the Silver Watchman signing out. Have a good day, everybody, and may God be with ye. Off I go.